All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Claire Gogan with the Gogan Real Estate Team. I'm doing this today because we had a very popular lunch and learn the other day. Cindy Carroll with Carroll and Carroll Appraisers came. She was phenomenal. She went through her entire statistics book and shared with us what her thoughts were on the market going forward. So I know we are at a time right now in the market where there are some things happening, and I think the data was really interesting. And I wanted to bring that to you and share that with you. So I am recording this for anyone that signed up. They'll get the recording. Before I jump in, I do want to start by making sure to mention that I am obviously not Cindy Carroll. These are my words, not hers. She, did her presentation. I took notes, and today's presentation is my notes, my interpretation of what she said. And so I hope it brings value to you, but wouldn't want my words to be taken as her words. But I took good notes, and I think you will find a lot of these things that she talked about very valuable, as well as the statistic book that she gave us, which I'm going to share my screen as I go through this, so you will get to see that. I will also send that out with the recording of this so that you've got that. All right, so let's kick it off. Here's my screen. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to go through each page. So this was her presentation. So this data is from, let's see if she has the date on here. No, but as you go through, you will see the latest is from October of 24. So that's going to be very interesting as we go through. I'm just admitting some people here. Okay. So as we go through, there'll be some interesting points about that as well. So this is data as of October of 2024. She's pulling in data when she gets to the end of the year. I think she's going to revisit, and there were some points made based on that. So kicking it off, I want to start by saying that something that she mentioned was that 12 months of inventory in her eyes is a balanced market. She did indicate that perhaps that may change, or that maybe that was something from a long time ago that may change, but based throughout her presentation, she stuck with that 12 months of inventory is a balanced market. So when you see some of these inventory levels, keep that in mind. By a balanced market, meaning buyers are buyers, sellers are selling, buyers are buying, sellers are selling, as long as it's priced correctly. So Port Royal is an interesting market, and she indicated that it can go sometimes 3 years of inventory and still not lose value and lose pricing. Those are typically second, third, fourth homes. People don't have to sell or have to buy. So it is kind of a unique market in its own. As you can see here, back in February of 09, they sat at 3 years of inventory. In 22, they hit their peak of 1.3 months of inventory, and now they're up to about 1.6 years of inventory. So still a healthy level of inventory in Port Royal. Nothing alarming going on there. Aqualine Shores, she was saying, is a little bit of an odd community because it's these homes, and they all have canal views looking typically across to another home on the other side. She indicated there's quite a bit of new construction sitting in there. And one of the points she made between Aqualine Shores and, let's go to Royal Harbor is in these areas. She's noticing that when homes get to be about 20 years old, they're considered kind of old homes. So I thought that was pretty interesting for that area. And they tend to need a lot of remodel or a lot of potential tearing them down. And so the new construction is moving, in that area. Let's see. There's a specific section I want to talk about. But you can see the general pattern of everything. Again, 12 months being a balanced inventory. Obviously in 07, I thought these were very interesting to look at because it's pretty drastic from 07. We still have people that say, well, if the market were crashing or there's going to be a lot of inventory or prices are going to drop significantly or anything like that. Based on these inventory levels, it's really just not what we're seeing. And I think I know myself and our team has always expressed that, there isn't enough inventory for something like that to happen. But to have these and actual data points to show that, when in that market, 07, there were 3.5 years, 9.6 years in Royal Harbor of inventory. We got all the way down to 0.6 months in Royal Harbor in 2021. And then it climbed, but we are still only at 1.5 years of inventory. So for someone to feel that it's going to get back to this level when we're only at, 9.6 years, when we are only at 1.5 years, there is still a long way to go. And I think if you have buyers or sellers and you use this data in that way and share with them, you can really help somebody understand that, it's not just us saying it's not going to happen. The numbers are there to support it. And I think you'll see as well as we go through here, Royal Harbor may be 1.5 years of inventory. So perhaps that's more of a buyer's market. Again, she mentioned 12 months being a balanced market. So 1.5 years, maybe tipping a little bit into more of a buyer's market. But at the same time, nowhere near 9.6 years. And there are other communities that you'll see inventory levels. I think even the majority of these, you can look here, 9.9 months. The majority of these are still under 1 year of inventory. All right. Here was a big one. Let me see, let me just mute somebody here. Mute. All right. Okay. So this was a big one. Old Naples single family, Old Naples condos. This is one of the biggest things I wanted to bring up that she mentioned. So first, let's look at inventory. 08, again, 3.2 years. 07, 4.6 years, right? That was the drastic time. The second drastic, we've got 2021, 22.9 months, 1.5 months, right? So these got way low, completely a seller's market, things flying off the shelf. Now for Old Naples single family, we're at 1.4 years. For Old Naples condos, we're at only 6.8 months. Now here is the most interesting part. If you look at Old Naples condos, in March of 2024, there were 102 active listings on the market. There were 105 sales and 11.7 months of inventory. So now, as of October of 24, we're down to 65 active listings, but not that many more have sold. We're only at 115. So the natural question there became, where did this inventory go? We went from 102 to 65. Where did all these listings go? They didn't sell. They're not showing up in our sold column. And so she explained that as she goes around and gives these presentations, she was asking groups of realtors, what's going on? What are you doing with your listings? Where did they go? And the overwhelming consensus has been, oh, we're pulling it off and we're going to list it again in season or in January. And so her conclusion to that was that there is this large amount of what she's calling shadow inventory. All of this inventory that came off the market that is now going to resurface in season, right? January, most likely. I can attest to the fact that our team, although I don't know that we've taken a lot off in October, I know that we have a significant amount of inventory coming in January as well. So I think, based on what she's saying with this shadow inventory and combined with this just natural inventory of sellers wanting to list in season, I think there's a really good potential that we have an influx of, we will have an influx of inventory in January, February. I guess the question becomes, will the buyer demand keep up with that? So she is kind of waiting to see what happens with that. But that was a good example of that. Let's go to here. So Creighton Road single family versus Creighton Road condo. So same thing here. Let's look at single family first. So you have 200 or 3.7 years back in 07. went down to 1.1 months in 22. And this, again, if I haven't said this already, clearly the peak of the market, right? Late 21, early 22. One thing she mentioned that stands out, that I didn't mention at the beginning, was that the market really hasn't changed over the last 2 or 3 years, but we still have sellers hanging on to this late 21, early 22 market. Inventory has only increased, and prices, I'll talk a little bit more about prices shortly. So again, condo, Creighton area, I'm sorry, single family, we're going at 11.2 months. Healthy, balanced, again, 1 year she's saying is balanced, so we're doing good there. Condo, another example of that shadow inventory. So here we have March of 24, we had 1.2 years of inventory. We had 324 listings, 272 sold. As of August, 176, and October, 191. So where did those units go? Because they, again, our sale numbers have not increased that much. So while supply is down, really a lot of that came from just these properties coming off the market. And so again, that shadow inventory, a lot of these have the potential to come back on the market in January. She did discuss, and we talked about the fact that some of them are sellers that are hanging on to those 21, 22 prices. And so I'm sure there's some of them that have just decided not to sell. They're not going to get their number. They're starting to realize that the motivation for them to sell is not big enough. And so they're just going to pull it off. But I think there is I agree with her that there's a good potential, there's a good amount of those that are going to come back on the market. And I think going to price, she mentioned the big question is going to be, what do they come back at? Are they going to come back at the same price? Are they going to cut the prices and come down? And so that'll be really interesting to see what happens. Make sure I've hit all my notes here. Okay. Pelican Bay, 1.8 years. Again, 2.5 in 09. Actually in 2014 got all the way down to 3 months. In 2021 got down to 1 month. And now we are 1.8 years. In the condo market, we are sitting at 6.3 months. So a little bit of that shadow inventory going on here as well. 164, 109. So we'll see what happens there. Pine Ridge. Talked a lot about Pine Ridge and the history of Pine Ridge. Certainly always recommend if you can hear Cindy Carroll speak. She just has a wealth of knowledge about these communities and who built them and when they were built and how they started, and just really fascinating to hear all of that. But Pine Ridge, a non-gated, larger lots, nice community. 08, 7.5 years. In 21 got down to 1.3 months, as much of the market did, is now sitting at 2 years. And the biggest thing about Pine Ridge, she had another sheet that she was pulling up looking at new construction. In Royal Harbor, there was a good amount of new construction. In Pine Ridge, there was a significant amount of new construction. And she was not really sure what these builders were going to start to do. The consensus was that, if a builder has a new construction and it's not selling, that money is tied up in that build. And so that builder is now not going out and purchasing another lot and building something else. So it slows down everything. Pine Ridge right now, I calculated actually this morning, there are 17 active new constructions in Pine Ridge at this moment. In the last year, 5 have closed. I think when she came the other day, there was only like 3 that had closed. So she felt Pine Ridge was a major issue for new construction and sitting new construction in there. And these were very large homes, very expensive large homes. As of before I did this call, I took a quick look, and there were 5 closed, and there's actually 4 of them in there that are pending. So that will be interesting to see what happens with that. And this was just new construction. So on here, as of 10/24, there were 33 actives and 16 closed. But I was just looking at 17 active, only of those are new construction and only 5 closed. So certainly a surplus of inventory in the new construction market in Pine Ridge. Golden Gate Estates. And so for this, it's NA 22. Golden Gate Estates, she is referring to Logan and Oaks only. And so again, 7.2 years in 08, went to 1.9 months in 21. Logan and Oaks, in her opinion, are doing very well. They're at 9.3 months of inventory. Prices have remained stable in there. The price points are getting higher and higher. She was very surprised to see some of the price points that are starting to happen in that market. And everything else looks really, really good. 41 active, 53 sold, 9.3 months of inventory. It is a very stable market. People love those areas and are continuing to buy there. Gray Oaks. This was an interesting one. Only 4.6 months of inventory right now. At one time, 4.2 years, then 0.3 months. So the most important thing to note here is that Gray Oaks, she has found, number one, it is a very unique community. She mentioned that she would not go outside of the community to pull comparisons. Gray Oaks is showing basically golf. The consensus was that golf is back. People want golf again. Golf is something that was very popular for a time. It went away and people were not buying the memberships and everything as much. And now it has really come back. A lot of the communities are redoing their golf courses and people are buying in the golf communities. She mentioned that maybe something to do with COVID. Didn't necessarily know for sure, but it is evident in the data that the communities with golf courses are doing better. Vineyards as well, golf course. And so she did caution us that if you're going to be pulling comparisons, to not compare a golf or non-golf community, because the golf is making a significant difference right now. I would assume as well, inside a community, if you have a golf membership versus not having a golf membership, it may be more significant today than it was several years ago. So again, 4.2 years, 0.3, it's looking very good in here. She also mentioned that Gray Oaks has not really, prices have stayed relatively the same. So she gave us an example of an appraisal that she was doing. And that she was comfortable going back 2 years or more in that community to find a more like home to compare to. Still mentioned, of course, that she would use some other comparisons, some more recent ones, but that if a home sold for X amount in 2022, that she felt pretty comfortable that that price could still support a sale today. So prices have a bit remained, especially in Gray Oaks. Vineyards, let me see, Vanderbilt Beach. Vanderbilt Beach, not enough data yet. I think that area got hit really hard by the hurricane too, so it's hard to tell. As we started to wrap up, the Collier Reserve doing very well. Again, another golf community, 3.7 months of inventory in there. At one point, no listings in these areas, so very popular little golf community there. Quail West, Quail Creek, again, 5.8 months. At one point, she mentioned that she watches, but she didn't really have a full conclusion yet as to whether a community is right off the main road or kind of tucked away, as Quail West and Quail Creek are, whether that made a difference for them or not. Again, 5.8 months, 4.8 months, all still very low inventory in those areas. Imperial Golf Estates, a very popular community, down to only 2.3 months of inventory in there for the single family homes. That's a public golf community, has some great larger lots. I know we also have had many clients buy in there. Excuse me, it has become really popular. And this can just show that. 22 down to no listings. October of 24, as we were down to 2.3 months of inventory. Low fees in there, great exposure on 41. Lakewood's down to 6.7 months, kind of an entry level community over there. And then that brings us to these Golden Gate City and Naples Manor. She mentioned these are now our entry level, right? You used to be able to get in there for 200s. Now the entry level price in Naples is closer to 400. Very low inventory, as we tend to see in those entry level communities. 1.8 months for Naples Manor, only 2.1 months for Golden Gate City. So those homes are going to be selling quickly. There's, more buyers that can afford those homes. Naples Park. So Naples Park is where she started talking a little bit about price and how Naples Park is the first community that she has, or she feels like she has enough data to support a 1%, I think per month, don't quote me on that one, decrease in price. She's still collecting the data, and here she talked a lot about the fact that right now the numbers are in the pendings. So if you are trying to write an offer or comp out a listing, she is really focused on the pendings. She is calling pending properties to see if agents like ourselves will give her a little bit of a hint as to where they're at, because there's been all this inventory, and now she believes that we may start seeing some slight prices coming down based on the closings that will happen in like the next 60, 90, 120 days. We will see. But overall, aside from Naples Park, she really has not been able to document any reduction in price. She also referred to the NABOR statistics that show that the median price has gone up. And so there really is nothing to indicate that our prices in Southwest Florida have come down, or that they're coming down. Inventory levels, as you've seen, we've gone through this, are below a year in most areas. The prices seem to be holding, and we're heading into season where we're going to, hopefully and potentially have a lot more buyers coming in and buying up some of this inventory. So again, Naples Park was the only one that she felt like she might have some data here soon to show some loss of value a little bit, but nothing major either. Oop, that's the last slide. So again, first area. So just a quick recap. Inventory levels are typically below a year in most communities here, so we're pretty balanced. Shadow inventory has the capability of coming on in January, February. We will see. Sounds like a lot of homes came off the market in October and might be relisting for season. And so what that inventory will do to our market, will buyers come in and meet that supply? Will the demand come and meet the supply? We don't know. And then pricing, her overall consensus is that pricing has remained stable. We don't see it going up, but she doesn't see it really decreasing by much. It may come down a little bit, but nothing crazy. Seems like prices are here to stay. Naples is discovered. It's a great place to live. People are starting to come down more and more. So that's it. I'm going to send this out to you guys. You can have it. She wanted me to share it with anybody that was interested. We will have Cindy Carroll back, as well as her brother, who is an expert on the FEMA 50% rule. So we're going to have him come in. She's mentioned January, February is typically a good time for them to come. So I'm going to have them come for a lunch and learn. So if this was valuable to you, please keep an eye out for my emails. Also on Facebook, you can follow me there. And I post all of those. So feel free to come to those as well. And then, yeah, I'm going to shoot this out to you guys, and I'm going to go ahead and quit recording here, and then I can answer any questions.